folks, Mark Hayes here. Thanks for joining us for the Brand Central podcast. It's a lively discussion about ways to elevate and build your brand. But in light of what has become the new normal, we are looking for ways to help families, moms and dads especially, dealing with the new normal and the shelter in place. Joining us, Dr. Richard Shelton, a pediatrician who has an office in Buford, Georgia, and a graduate of the prestigious Washington University Medical School, and also attended undergrad there as well. Dr. Shelton, thanks so much for joining us. What a pleasure.
It's a pleasure. Thanks a lot. And by the way, it's Washington University in St. Louis, just to make sure, just to be clear about that, because we get real touchy about that.
Oh, okay. Because it's, yeah, a little bit, because you're using the Washington State.
Well, something they're using ours. So.
Oh, they're using yours. Okay. Gotcha. You know, they're a Husky. What was your mascot?
Bears.
The Bears.
Get it straight. Get it straight. Washington Bears. Go Bears.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. So, Doc, let's get into it, though, because I would imagine that you're not real busy, but when parents come to you, I'm sure they are stressed. What is the biggest concern that parents have right now when it comes to protecting their kids and then keeping their kids that are healthy on the road to some sort of normalcy?
Well, you know, Mark, the first thing that we are talking to our parents about is actually keeping your well checkup appointments. That's probably one of the most important things right now. Okay. Obviously, healthcare are one of the essential functions right now. And we do stress that children do come in, get their well child checks, because they do need their vaccinations, both for getting back to school when that does occur, but also just for general health. Because what we don't want is an outbreak of, let's say, pertussis or measles coming in the fall after we're through with this pandemic and having another epidemic because children are not getting their vaccines.
Right.
So I wanted to stress that to parents right now is make sure you keep your appointments with your child's physician. Paramount of importance right now, especially if they're not sick right now. Most of our offices now are extremely clean. We clean after every patient. Even the doorknobs are wiped down. We all are wearing our masks. You can see here, we all are wearing our masks in our offices now. We're following all the CDC guidelines and the AAP guidelines. So please don't, that's the main thing, is don't be afraid to go into the offices for that well child care. Most of us are now cohorting our patients where we're only, in our office, for instance, only well child checks are occurring in the morning hours. So there will be no ill patients in the building at all when they're coming in for their checkups.
Makes total sense. All right. So let's talk about keeping kids in a routine, because this is what I'm hearing a lot of parents struggle with. It's like, you know, get up when you want, do your homework if you have a chance, because every school district is doing it different. Some are having actual, class times. Some are saying, email it to me when you're done. Yes. So there's no real, manual for this. People are just kind of making it up as they go. But how can parents survive this new normal with a routine?
So you're exactly right, Mark. I mean, that is probably the biggest thing that we talk about right now in our checkups right now, is trying to keep the kids in somewhat of a normal routine for themselves. As you said, all the school districts are doing the digital learning days a little bit different. Some of them are having where they have to be on at a certain time. Some are saying, hey, just log on, check the PowerPoints and do the work, and then it's due whenever they have the assignments due. So what we are stressing to parents right now is to keep them in a somewhat normal school routine. Get them up at the same time every day, have them do their schoolwork in a regimented fashion through the morning hours, and then get to bed at a reasonable hour. Also, we want to make sure that they also are keeping themselves busy outside of the school hours. It's okay to go outside. It's okay to get some fresh air. You can't play with your friends like you used to, as far as we still have to keep our 6-foot distance kind of thing and all those guidelines. But it's very important to get outside and get some fresh air and exercise. Gotcha. When kids are in school, they're not just sitting in front of a computer or in the same classroom for hours on end. Right. They're getting up to go to a different classroom. They're going to different functions. They're even using the restroom. So we want to make sure that they are approximating the same day that they would have at school, which means getting up out of that chair and not just sitting in front of a screen for hours on end.
Right. Would you recommend like pretending we're in school? Say we have 50 minutes for social studies. Get up, take a break, come back, do 50 minutes for math. Take a break, kind of simulate the school day?
Absolutely. Those are for the kids who are just having the school days where they are just have the work is just put up on a on the screen and they have to just get it done.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, my son, my younger son, at his school, they actually have times that he has to be on every day.
Oh,
So
wow.
his day is actually already pretty regimented through the morning. But I know
Cool.
not all schools are doing that. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I would suggest that they do kind of so, and you can even have the same exact plan that they have during school. So if they have math first, do math first. If they have, whatever their day is to keep that same day, and that will help the kids adjust a little bit better from what they normally do in school.
Right. Are you noticing that parents are feeling the pressure of having to maintain that routine? Because that's, I could see every parent now saying, "Oh my God, I don't want my kid to get left back because
Yes.
I didn't do the
I
help
will
them
say,
do the
I
work."
will say this: the parents have a new respect for teachers.
Oh yeah.
I have had numerous parents say teachers are not paid enough, and I think that they are finding out very quickly, having to deal with just one or two children in their own home, much less 20 or 30 kids in a classroom at a time. So yes, the parents are probably as stressed, if not more so, than their children are right now, because a
Right.
lot of pressure is now on them, especially our younger children.
Mm-hmm.
When you get into high school and stuff, a lot of the parents really don't feel comfortable trying to teach their kids high school
Right.
curriculum.
Especially that new math.
Exactly, the new math that they never learned,
Right.
and confusing. But for the younger children, though, we're talking about elementary school children, a lot of pressure on them because now they have to, one, keep them occupied,
Mm.
make sure they're learning everything they're supposed to learn.
Right.
So yes, there is a lot of pressure, even though they may not have standardized testing this year.
Mm-hmm.
The children are going to be expected if they are going to be promoted to the next grade, they're going to be expected to know the material from the previous grade.
Right, right. So let's talk about the other component of the school day, and that is nutrition, because we all know that it's a problem for a lot of families because in many areas around our country and here in Georgia, that's the one meal that kids are getting. But let's just talk about typical family because that's a whole nother discussion. We could talk for hours about that. But
Absolutely.
let's talk about eating right. And staying away from bad habits when it comes to diet and nutrition.
Yeah, Mark, you're absolutely right. The biggest problem that we see right now for parents who are home and who are not used to being home, as well as their children, is the grazing phenomenon. Food is available all day to them, okay?
Right.
And when we get bored, we tend to eat. Okay, so what we're hoping is that is what we talk to parents about now is setting meal times and normal snack times as they would in a normal day.
Right.
Even for themselves also.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot more accessible. When the refrigerator is 5 feet away from you, it's very easy to go over and grab something to eat or grab some chips or something out of the pantry that are not available to you during the normal school day. Right. So we have to remember that that we do need to still eat healthy, just as we would without the pandemic. It's really important, Mark, for children and for adults, not only as for general illness prevention, eating healthy and exercise are paramount in maintaining our normal body functions. And that includes our immune system. Mm-hmm. So it's important that we still stay on good, healthy diets, that we still get exercise, get out of the house, get some fresh air, eat healthy. All those things will help build up your immune system and try to ward off some of these things that we are now dealing with.
Right. Tell me a little bit about the exercise again, Rick. I know you have a lot of athletes that come to your practice, Doc, and I know they're concerned about trying to prepare for what might be a season. But, if you're a 9th or 10th grader, you're working out in an unsupervised atmosphere, that can wig out a lot of parents too. What's your recommendation for those kids that are athletes? Because so many kids are participating in so many different kinds of sports.
Absolutely. The biggest thing, though, that I see, especially in high school athletes, is that a lot of the coaches are sending out things for them to do. They are sending out workouts for them to do daily. I know that the local high school football coach here does that on a weekly basis, sends out their whole routine that they are supposed to do at home. And it's tailored toward a home workout where they know they don't have the same equipment that they do at the gym. They don't have the same weights. They don't have all those kind of things that they would normally are accustomed to. So I would say number one is follow the coach's recommendations. That's number one with any of the athletes right now that are trying to stay in shape. Number two is just we just talked about, eat healthy. Don't sit there and graze and eat all day on unhealthy things and get out of shape and overweight.
Sure.
Three is to get outside and walk, run, jog. All those things are acceptable even with our shelter in place regulations right now. As long as you're maintaining the 6-foot distance, you are doing fine. I see a lot of adults walking right now outside on the trails and on the sidewalks. I don't see a lot of children doing that. So my fear is that they're at home playing in front of the playing video games in front of the television, on their phones, things like that, but not really getting out and getting some type of cardiovascular exercise, which is so important going forward.
Yeah. Rick, what's your advice when it comes to having conversations with your kids? Because I know you see a wide range of ages from newborns all the way to 20-somethings. How do you explain what is often the unknown? Because, I mean, there's no manual for this. We've never been through anything like this in our lifetimes. Hopefully we never will again. But how do you talk to them realistically about this to kind of ease any fears that they might have?
Well, the first thing, Mark, is to be honest with them. Depending upon their age, their maturity level, as to what things that they can and cannot handle. The first thing is to alleviate any fears that they may have. Not everyone is going to get COVID. Not everyone is going to die from COVID. Although we are seeing a lot of numbers from that, really, not everyone is going to be affected by that. And as long as you maintain the practices that we are supposed to, keeping the distance, sheltering in place, making sure you're washing your foods, washing your hands, all those kind of things make you much less likely to get the illness. So that's number one, is to alleviate all fears from them. For the older ones, I'd say like high school and above, maybe even middle school and above, I would impress upon them the shelter in place phenomenon that we're going through right now. That it is not okay to go outside and gather with a bunch of people. It's okay for 1 or 2 people, keep your distance, things like that. It's not okay to gather at the park and play basketball or skateboard or have parties. That's where we get ourselves into trouble, because that's how the disease can spread more quickly and then affect those who are most vulnerable to the long-term consequences from the disease. So, you want to be honest with them. And as always, we want to do with children. And when you don't know, you should say, I don't know. I don't know how long this is really going to last. We just have to take this day by day and do the best that we can to stay healthy and to get you through school. Right.
Great stuff, Rick. Great advice. We also want to let folks know we're talking with Dr. Rick Shelton. He's a pediatrician in Buford, Georgia. Rick, why don't we tell folks where they can find you, your website, and where they can go to get more information about your practice?
Sure. My practice is, we're at the Longstreet Clinic. We're the Department of Pediatrics in the Longstreet Clinic. We are located in Buford, Georgia on South Lee Street, very close to anybody who's familiar with Buford. It's right near the Home Depot. But we have 5 pediatric offices throughout the Northeast Georgia area. We have one in Oakwood, Brazelton, Gainesville is our main office near the hospital. And then we have one up in Baldwin. So any of those offices, we'll be glad to see them. And the last thing, Mark, I would say is for your high school seniors out there, this is a very difficult time for them, okay? Yeah. They've been looking for, and for the parents, they've been looking forward to high school graduations for a long time, and those are just not going to happen right now. They will be virtual, but there will be no walking across the stage. There will be no families coming into town, the parties, both at home and with their friends. This is actually a very difficult time for them. And of course, all our athletes that are missing their final senior seasons, that we're looking forward to this season, to the spring season, to really show themselves and have a lot of fun. And unfortunately, that's just not going to happen. So be sure that they get there, that you take care of your high school seniors also, because they're going through a rough time also.
Yeah, and no proms. And then you have those seniors that graduated early so they could enroll in college early and get a running start on next season. So,
Correct.
I mean, the ripple effect is just, oh,
It is.
gosh.
It's unfortunate. I really feel sorry for my patients when I come in and talk to them. I see my high school seniors they're just kind of lost a little bit right now because, like I said, there's no prom, there's no graduation parties, no walking across the stage, no grandma, grandpa coming in to see you, that kind of thing. So make sure that you also give them some extra special attention.
Yeah.
Maybe have some kind of a graduation ceremony at your home where you
order your graduation banner.
Order your graduation banner. Absolutely. Make sure you get that. Make sure you get things that you can put outside in the yard and those kind of things. And then have a graduation at home, and then just do it on Zoom like we are now, or FaceTime, or whatever method you want to show the grandparents that your child has graduated and that they are moving on.
Yeah, I can't even imagine how difficult it is not being able to put that punctuation mark on such an important, part in your developmental stage. I know for you as a professional, I'm sure you're like, oh my gosh, what do I tell these kids?
Yes, and some of these kids, this will be the only graduation they go through. Some will not. Some of them are not going to go on to college. Not college, not for everyone. So for some folks, this is going to be their only real graduation, and their final graduation. So, take care of your seniors also.
Yeah. Wow. Great stuff, Rick. Well, great insight, my friend. Thank you so much. And full disclosure, Rick and I go back about 50 years. So we've known each other for quite some time. And I appreciate you jumping on the podcast and sharing some of this great knowledge with our viewers, man. Some great insight there. So I can't thank you enough, my friend.
Thank you. Anytime, Mark. Take care.
Indeed. All righty.
Bye.